Today, some delicious sea bass with Puttanesca sauce. So let's do it. The first step for this delicious sea bass recipe, we're going to want some red onions. Chop them in half and remove the skins, and you want to dice up the onions fairly fine, but we do want the sauce to have some texture. Pop your diced red onions into a bowl, and next you want to pop a frying pan onto the hob, turn the heat to around medium, and we're going to use the oil from a tin of anchovies. So pour in the oil, chuck in your diced red onion, season with salt and pepper, and then we're going to start by sweating down the onions. While the onions are ticking away, we're going to want some garlic. So take a few cloves, remove the skins, and you want to dice these up fairly fine. Pop a few teaspoons of the diced garlic into the onions, give them a good stir and a good tossing up in the pan, and after a couple of moments you want to chuck in some anchovy fillets. Break up the anchovies into the onion, and after another minute or so we want some capers. Add a few teaspoons of the capers, give them a stir, and then we want some black olives. If the olives are de-seeded, just chuck them straight in. If they've still got the seeds, just tear them into the puttanesca, removing the pips. Once the olives are in, we're going to want some white wine, so deglaze the pan with the wine. For this particular recipe, I'm fairly generous with the wine. Spend a minute to reduce that down, and while it's ticking away, we're going to want some cherry tomatoes. Very, very simple, just chop your tomatoes in half and stick them into a bowl. Also, you want to retain the tomato stalks. Next, you want to chuck the stalks into the sauce and throw in your halved cherry tomatoes. Give them a good stirring up, and we want to cook this out for about 15 to 20 minutes on a good medium heat. And yes, before you comment below, I know this is not a classic puttanesca sauce. I have made a few variations that work beautifully with the sea bass. And after a quarter of an hour, once the tomatoes have started to break down and the puttanesca is getting nice and saucy, I like to just transfer this into a saucepan, pop it to one side while we cook our sea bass. But before we do that, you want to take a handful of parsley and some basil, dice them up really nice and fine, chuck your herbs into a bowl, and next we want a fresh lemon. Cut off a nice few slices of the lemon, pop these into a bowl, and stick the herbs and lemon to one side ready to finish the sauce. You want to clean out the pan, pop it back on the heat, keep the heat on medium to high, add a really good splash of olive oil and a nice generous knob of butter. And this is an amazing way to cook fish. You almost shallow fry the fish, getting that skin really nice and crispy, and the butter gives it a beautiful flavour. Next up, the star of the show, some lovely fresh sea bass. So here we have some sea bass fillets, and the best way to prepare them for cooking, you want to pat them dry with a kitchen towel or kitchen paper, pop them onto a chopping board, and then very gently score the skin. Cut across the skin. This will stop the fish from curling up in the pan, and we can get that skin really nice and crispy. Once you've scored the skin, season both sides of the sea bass with a touch of salt, and just at the point the butter starts to sizzle and disintegrate into the oil, you want to lay in your sea bass, skin side down. And the trick, you want to give the sea bass about 1 minute on the skin side. We want that skin beautiful and crispy. Flip over the sea bass, give it about 20-30 seconds on the flesh side, flip it again, and then you want to give it another 20 or 30 seconds off the heat as it will continue to cook. In the few moments we have before we plate, you want to cut the sauce with some of the butter and olive oil from the fish. Also, chuck in a good handful of your parsley and basil and a good few squeezes of some lemon juice. Give it one last really good stir, and now we're ready to serve. So you want to sauce the plate, be quite generous, lay on your crispy skin, perfectly cooked sea bass, finish with a good drizzle of some extra virgin olive oil, a nice squeeze of some lemon juice, and then sprinkle over some of your finely diced herbs. And there we have an amazing way of serving delicious sea bass. All that's left to do is to get stuck in. So give it a try, and I'll see you next time.